The purpose of this video is to show an example of an application that has been created using the module suite. In this case, it's a sample application around a banking process in which we're collecting and subsequently approving a set of documents. Now, it's a workflow process, and as you can see in the workflow map, it's pretty straightforward. So we have a kickoff step that's form-based. After that, we'll be collecting different documents, again, through a form step. And after that, these documents will be sent for approval by a manager in the real world. In this case, I'll be doing it through the same user. Now, once these documents are signed off and approved, they'll be archived. Now, during the archive stage, there'll be two content script steps that are backing this up. And what these two content script steps will be doing is, one, that they'll be creating a summary PDF based on the information gathered throughout the workflow. And then there'll be another content script step that is calling an external SOAP web service, grabbing a barcode, and then we're going to have this barcode applied to that summary PDF that was just generated. So this is a process that we'll be seeing today, just to provide, again, some context. So if we dive right in, the first step here, the first stage is our dashboard. And this dashboard, 3 of these 4 tiles, they're actually created with the module suite. So first and foremost, we have a tile that is surfacing the information related to the running workflows. Now, if there was a workflow which I need to participate in, which I had a task open, under action, I would have an action button that would take me directly to that step. Then we have a chart graph, and this is based on some hypothetical data. And finally, we have some custom shortcut widgets, which I can use to go directly to start this process. So if we go to the kickoff step, again, like I mentioned, it's a form-based, we can see that we've kept the look and feel quite similar, if not completely aligned to that of the Smart UI. And the reason we've done this is to showcase how the user experience can be quite seamless and smooth. So the first step I would have to do is choose the type of account that I'll be working with. And this is a dynamic form, meaning that based on the type of account, I'll have different fields. So if I go ahead and choose an account number, what we'll be seeing here is that there's an autofill of the various fields. And what's happening is that we're actually calling an external web service for this information and then using it within our form. Below, these are actually read-only form fields in which we're grabbing the current user, their associate department, and today's date and filling out this little form. Now this is a standard content server widget, and we've placed it to showcase how we can surface them directly within a form. So now that I've filled this out, I can submit it and go to the next step in which I'll actually be collecting the various documents needed for this workflow. Again, this is characterized by a dynamic form. So based on the type of request, I'll need to provide different documentation, as we can see here. But we'll use a trade name change, which is a little bit more interesting. Now, if I say that I have waived these permanently and these 2 temporary, what I'd like to show is our ability of creating a PDF on the fly using this information. So I just have to click on this PDF, and a checklist PDF is automatically generated, in which we can see our current progress for a request and what I've selected, or let's say the status of these various documents. If I go back and say that I have all these filled out, naturally I'll have 100% progress, and these will be modified accordingly. But instead of saying that I have this one waived, let's say I want to attach it. And we have a very convenient drag and drop function for adding these documents. So I'll be taking this PDF called Test Invoice 1. I'll just drag and drop inside. And what we'll see is that we're actually renaming that PDF on the fly based on that type of document. And this is thanks to a content script that's running in the background. And the idea here obviously was to reduce or eliminate user errors in this case. Now, while we're here, I'd like to point out that the attachments and the comments, these aren't replicated, but we're actually surfacing the standard workflow functions. So if I add a comment, this will be kept throughout the entire workflow. And we'll see this later on. Now I have two options here. I could save and exit, so I can return to this step later on, or I can submit it. Now when I submit it, I will be taken back to my dashboard. And since I'm in charge of the next step, I'll now have my open task under the actions. And this will take me to the review step. This again is a form step, and as you can see here, it's a completely different layout. Now, the idea here was to show you how we could have different user experiences throughout the process. Okay. So as the manager, I will need to verify the documents, but thanks to some validation that we've put in place, if I try to prove it without verifying everything and without signing it, I'll be receiving two custom error messages. So we're not using the standard content server error messages, but error messages that provide context, that provide meaning. So now I need to verify and sign this in order to move forward. And while we're at it, let me also add my own comment to this process. Now, when I approve it, this process will essentially come to a close, and we'll be going to that archive stage where all the documents, they're being archived into their folder structure, and we're creating that summary PDF and applying the barcode to it. So now if we go into our existing accounts, go to today's request, we see that we have the PDF, the document that we uploaded earlier, the checklist that we saw, and the summary PDF that was created just now. As you can see, it's grabbing the various information from the workflow, and this is the barcode that was utilized from an external SOAP service and added to this PDF. So that takes care of this process, but before I finish this video, I would like to show you the actual editor that we're using to create and maintain these forms. So let me open the editor, and let me also open the form. So as you can see, it's a pretty straightforward visual drag and drop editor. The paradigm, it's again pretty straightforward. So up top, we have the various action buttons. On my left, we have various pre-made components. And the idea here is that you just simply drag and drop these components, and these are obviously for the most common usage scenarios, so that you're never starting a form from scratch. You always have something to build on top of. Now, one interesting thing that characterizes our solution is that even though I could continue working on this form, edit the form, it doesn't mean that there's an interruption to the user productivity. So for example, if I would like to edit this progress bar just by adding another step, all I need to do is save. And next time I reload the form, I'll see the changes. So again, the idea here is not to have interruption in the user productivity. So keep things as seamless as possible. So that takes care of this example. Now, if there's any questions, obviously, please feel free to reach out to us. Thanks.